Hey guys, welcome to practice, and I'm really excited to be filming the next few videos here in Mauritius. So we're still following all of the practices in my book, 100 Mindfulness Meditations, and we're up to practice 19, which is called Intentional Thoughts and Free Thoughts. So we're still working with mind and the contents of mind. And in the book I wanted to create this distinction between the thoughts that just bubble up in our heads and seem to come from nowhere, and then the internal voice of consciousness that we use to talk to ourselves. So I'm calling the ones that just bubble up, they're the free thoughts, and the ones that we use to use self-directed speaking to ourselves, our internal voice, as intentional thoughts. Lots of other ways we could categorize that, but just to keep it simple, we've got intentional thoughts and free thoughts. So in this practice, all we do is we go from intentional thoughts and then leave space to see what arises in free thoughts. So we're just doing a little bit of exploration around the contents of mind, but we're directing it a little bit. So what I do when I guide the practice is I invite you to follow me along as I say, and you can say this silently to yourself, I'm thinking this thought, I'm thinking this thought, I'm thinking this thought. So I'll say that in the practice out loud. But as you're in the practice and listening, try and have that thought at the same time as me. So just kind of repeat it with me. I'm thinking this thought, I'm thinking this thought, I'm thinking this thought. It'll always be 3 times. And then I'll leave a bit of space and we're just going to see what bubbles up. So we've used 3 intentional thoughts, we leave some space. And then what we're trying to do is just kind of look at, well, what's the difference in the contents of what just bubbles up from mind? What does it feel like? What does it sound like? Where does it come from? Might be just a question that we pose ourselves. Which direction does the mind seek to look? Okay, so it's a very simple practice, but it's quite a useful one as we're getting to know mind and the contents of mind. All right, so if you're ready, wherever you may be, just allowing yourself to prepare to drop into practice. So if it's appropriate, this will be a eyes closed practice, but if you're somewhere where that wouldn't be appropriate, eyes open is fine. Seated is a nice place to do it, but you could do it just listening along as you're on your commute or walking or on the way to work or whatever. All right, so just dropping in and just listening what's there in the surroundings. Here we've got the sound of the ocean, the ripples against the rocks. You can hear some birds calling in the distance. And in these first few moments, we're just using our senses to welcome us into our practice, into the body, reminding ourselves of the breath rolling in, breath rolling out. Just being conscious of those processes that have accompanied us the whole of the day. But just giving them a little bit of attention, welcoming the breath into the body. So as we allow the energy to settle, we're going to start in a moment the first repetition of 3 intentional thoughts. And then there'll be a space of curiosity just to see what arises by way of free thoughts. I am thinking this thought. I am thinking this thought. I am thinking this thought. And just noticing what has arisen by way of free thoughts into your consciousness, and if you followed them up with more intentional thoughts, or if you were just able to see what was bubbling along. And we'll go again. I am thinking this thought. I am thinking this thought. I am thinking this thought. And once again, just noticing what came up for you, what was there, what was present in mind. Where did the mind direct you? And there's no wrong or right here, we're just being curious, and there's no prize if the mind was quiet either. We can be just as curious about the quiet spaces as the thoughts themselves. And so one final time, I'm thinking this thought, I am thinking this thought, I am thinking this thought. And then just allowing the space to give way back to our physical sensations of being sat or stood or wherever we find ourselves. Once again, hearing the sounds around us, dropping back into the rest of our day, taking with us any discoveries, and allowing the eyes to open. So sometimes that practice can be a bit confusing the first few times you do it, so don't worry about that. It's just an exploration. And one of the things that we're trying to do is really just notice the difference between that kind of intentional thought stream and the one that just bubbles up. Noticing that at any moment we can kind of retake control of the direction of our mind, even with something as repetitive as I'm thinking this thought, brought us back into a very specific place. So I hope you enjoy that practice. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I look forward to seeing you next time.